Negative thinking does not begin with what happens around you. It begins with what you allow to take root within you. Long before a situation turns difficult, the mind has already started shaping how that situation will be interpreted. Two people can walk through the same storm, yet one stands firm while the other collapses, not because the storm was different, but because the thinking was different. The mind is the doorway through which fear, doubt, and defeat try to enter. And if that doorway is left unguarded, those thoughts begin to feel like truth, even when they are not. Many people believe their circumstances are the source of their negativity. They say they are discouraged because money is tight, because doors have closed, because relationships have failed. But in reality, those circumstances only expose what the mind has already been rehearsing. The situation did not create the thought, it revealed it. If the mind has been trained to expect loss, it will interpret every delay as rejection. If the mind has been conditioned to fear failure, it will see every challenge as confirmation that it cannot succeed. Negative thinking often disguises itself as realism. It sounds reasonable. It says, I've tried before and it didn't work, or this is just how life is. But those thoughts quietly limit faith and slowly drain hope. They convince the heart to prepare for disappointment instead of expecting breakthrough. Over time, the mind begins to accept defeat before the battle even starts, and what feels like wisdom is actually surrender. The danger of unchecked negative thinking is that it begins to shape decisions. When the mind is filled with doubt, opportunities are avoided, risks are feared, and prayers become weak and cautious. People stop asking boldly because they have already decided the answer will be no. They stop moving forward because they assume resistance means failure. In this way, the mind becomes a prison built from repeated thoughts, locking a person into patterns they never consciously chose. Yet the mind was never meant to be ruled by circumstances. It was designed to be renewed, redirected, and anchored in truth. When thoughts are aligned with faith, circumstances lose their power to define the outcome. A renewed mind can look at uncertainty and still expect good. It can face pressure without panic and delays without despair. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let reality dictate identity or destiny. Breaking negative thinking requires awareness and intention. It begins by recognizing that not every thought deserves agreement. Just because a thought enters the mind does not mean it should stay there. Some thoughts must be challenged, corrected, and replaced. When fear speaks, faith must answer. When doubt rises, truth must respond. The mind must be trained to pause, to question the narrative it is being fed, and to choose a higher perspective. As the mind changes, emotional responses change. Peace replaces anxiety, confidence replaces hesitation, and expectation replaces dread. Circumstances may still exist, but they no longer control the inner world. Instead of reacting, the mind begins to lead. And when the mind is led by faith, life follows in a new direction, opening the way for strength, clarity, and blessings that were always available but could not be received until thinking changed. Fear and doubt often operate quietly, disguising themselves as caution or humility, yet their true effect is to restrict the flow of blessings. When the heart agrees with fear, It unknowingly places limits on what it believes is possible. Blessings require space to land, and that space is created by faith. When doubt fills the mind, there is no room left for expectation. Even when opportunities appear, fear convinces the soul to hesitate, to wait, or to withdraw, turning what could have been a moment of breakthrough into another missed chance. Agreeing with fear does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it sounds like, I'll try later, or I'm not ready yet, or this probably won't work anyway. These thoughts feel harmless, but they subtly cancel faith. They prepare the heart for disappointment rather than for victory. Over time, this agreement with fear becomes a habit, shaping how a person prays, how they decide, and how they see their future. The prayer becomes careful instead of bold, and expectation is replaced with resignation. Doubt functions in a similar way, quietly questioning every promise before it has a chance to take root. It asks, what if it doesn't happen? Or why would it happen for me? These questions slowly erode confidence and make blessings feel distant or undeserved. When doubt dominates, even good news feels temporary, and progress is met with suspicion instead of gratitude. The heart remains guarded, unwilling to fully believe, because belief feels risky after past disappointments. Blessings are not only about what God gives, they are also about what the heart is willing to receive. A closed heart cannot receive freely. Fear closes the heart by focusing on loss, and doubt closes it by focusing on failure. Together, they form a barrier that blocks joy, peace, and growth. It is not that blessings stop coming, it is that fear and doubt prevent them from being recognized and embraced. Choosing faith is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to partner with it. Faith acknowledges uncertainty, but decides to trust anyway. It steps forward even when the outcome is not guaranteed. This decision to trust opens the heart and mind, creating alignment between belief and action. When faith leads, prayers become confident, choices become decisive, and hope begins to rise again. Replacing fear with faith requires intentional practice. It involves speaking differently, thinking differently, and responding differently. Instead of rehearsing worst-case scenarios, the mind begins to expect goodness. Instead of preparing for disappointment, the heart prepares for possibility. Faith does not deny challenges, but it refuses to let challenges have the final word. As fear loses its grip, peace takes its place. Confidence grows, not in personal ability, but in divine guidance and provision. The heart becomes open, receptive, and expectant. In that posture, blessings are no longer resisted or doubted. They are welcomed. When fear and doubt are released, faith creates a pathway allowing favor, clarity, and breakthrough to flow freely into life. Waking up each morning is not a random occurrence or a routine continuation of yesterday. It is a deliberate act of purpose. The breath in your lungs and the awareness in your mind are evidence that there is still intention attached to your life. If your assignment were finished, you would not be here. The fact that you opened your eyes today means there is something ahead of you that still requires your presence, your voice, and your obedience. This understanding shifts the way the day is approached, turning ordinary moments into opportunities filled with meaning. Many people wake up already burdened by yesterday's failures or tomorrow's uncertainties. They rise from bed carrying regret, fear, or exhaustion, assuming the day will simply repeat the same struggles. But when purpose is recognized, the morning becomes a reset rather than a reminder of loss. Purpose reframes the day, declaring that what lies ahead is not accidental, but arranged. Even the challenges are allowed to shape growth, develop strength, and prepare the heart for what is coming next. Purpose does not always reveal itself in grand or dramatic ways. Often it is woven into small decisions, quiet moments, and unseen acts of faithfulness. It may be expressed through encouragement given at the right time, patience shown in difficulty, or perseverance when quitting would be easier. Recognizing that the day has purpose encourages attentiveness, making the heart alert to moments that might otherwise be overlooked. The ordinary becomes sacred when viewed through the lens of intention. When a person understands they were awakened on purpose, their mindset shifts from survival to expectancy. Instead of merely trying to get through the day, they begin to look for what the day holds. This expectancy builds resilience. Obstacles are no longer seen as signs of failure, but as indicators that growth is happening. Delays become lessons rather than disappointments. Purpose gives context to struggle, helping the heart endure what it does not yet understand. Living with purpose also reshapes identity. Instead of defining self-worth by productivity, success, or approval, value is rooted in existence itself. Being alive is proof of significance. This realization removes the pressure to constantly prove worth and replaces it with confidence and peace. Decisions are made with greater clarity because they are guided by meaning rather than fear or comparison. Purpose creates alignment between intention and action. When the heart believes the day matters, it becomes more disciplined, more focused, and more willing to choose what is right over what is easy. Time is respected, energy is guarded, and priorities become clearer. This alignment leads to greater fulfillment, even in demanding seasons. As purpose is embraced, gratitude naturally follows. Each morning is seen as a gift rather than a burden. This gratitude strengthens joy and renews hope, making the heart receptive to growth and blessing. The day unfolds not as a series of random events, but as a journey filled with direction, significance, and promise, confirming that waking up is itself an invitation to step into what still remains to be done. Every season of growth demands a release from what once felt familiar. Mental strongholds are built over time through repeated experiences, disappointments, and unchallenged beliefs. They are not formed in a single moment, but they slowly take shape as the mind begins to accept limitations as truth. These strongholds define what a person believes is possible, often convincing them to settle for less than what they were created to experience. Entering a new season requires confronting these internal barriers, because what worked or felt safe before may no longer be sufficient for where life is leading now. Mental strongholds often appear as fixed mindsets. They sound like, "This is just who I am," or "Nothing ever changes," or "I've always struggled with this." These statements feel honest, but they lock the mind into a narrow view of the future. When these beliefs go unchallenged, they become self-fulfilling, Opportunities are dismissed, growth is resisted, and change feels threatening rather than exciting. The mind clings to familiarity even when that familiarity includes frustration and stagnation. A new season brings new demands. It requires fresh thinking, greater faith, and a willingness to step beyond previous boundaries. Old thought patterns cannot support new responsibilities or blessings. Carrying yesterday's mindset into tomorrow's calling creates tension and exhaustion. The mind becomes divided, wanting progress but fearing change. This internal conflict often results in delay as the heart hesitates to fully commit to the path ahead. Breaking mental strongholds is uncomfortable because it involves letting go of identities built around past experiences. Some people have defined themselves by their pain, their mistakes, or their survival. While those stories may be real, they are not meant to be permanent labels. Releasing them does not erase the past, it reframes it. The past becomes a source of wisdom rather than a prison that dictates the future. This shift allows the mind to open to possibilities that once seemed unreachable. Transformation begins when awareness replaces autopilot thinking. Instead of reacting automatically, the mind pauses and examines its assumptions. It asks whether a belief is rooted in truth or in fear. This process requires humility and courage because it challenges comfort zones. Yet, with each challenged thought, the stronghold weakens. The mind learns to choose growth over safety and trust over control. As strongholds are dismantled, clarity emerges. Decisions become less driven by fear and more guided by purpose. Confidence grows not because circumstances are perfect, but because the mind is no longer restricted by old narratives. This clarity makes it easier to recognize opportunities aligned with the new season and to release those that no longer serve growth. Letting go of old patterns creates space for renewal. The mind becomes flexible, open, and receptive. New ideas are welcomed, faith is strengthened, and resilience increases. This mental freedom allows the heart to fully step into the next season, prepared not just to enter it, but to thrive within it, carrying forward lessons from the past without being limited by them. Prayer has the power to reach places within the mind and heart that effort and reasoning cannot touch. While external changes may improve circumstances, inner unrest often remains until the soul finds a place of surrender. Prayer creates that space. It allows the mind to release what it has been carrying and invites peace to take its place. In moments of prayer, scattered thoughts begin to settle, and the noise of fear, pressure, and uncertainty gradually loses its volume. Many people attempt to manage worry by controlling outcomes or overthinking solutions. Yet the more the mind tries to solve everything alone, the heavier it becomes. Prayer interrupts this cycle by shifting focus away from self-reliance and toward trust. It acknowledges limitations without being overwhelmed by them. This shift brings relief, not because answers immediately appear, but because the burden is no longer carried alone. Peace enters when the mind accepts that it does not have to be in control to be secure. Through prayer, the mind is gently renewed. Old patterns of thinking are exposed, not with condemnation, but with clarity. Thoughts rooted in fear are replaced with thoughts grounded in truth. Instead of replaying worst-case scenarios, the mind begins to consider hope. Instead of rehearsing past failures, it becomes open to future possibility. This renewal does not happen in a single moment, but with each sincere act of prayer, the mind is reshaped little by little. Prayer also restores emotional balance. When the heart is overwhelmed, emotions often drive decisions, leading to reactions that bring regret or exhaustion. Prayer creates a pause between feeling and action. In that pause, perspective is restored. The heart is reminded that emotions are temporary and do not define reality. This awareness brings calm, allowing decisions to be made from wisdom rather than impulse. Inner peace is one of the clearest signs of a renewed mind. It is not the absence of problems, but the presence of stability in the midst of them. Prayer nurtures this peace by reinforcing trust. As trust grows, anxiety weakens. The mind learns to rest even when answers are still unfolding. This rest strengthens resilience, making it easier to face challenges without becoming overwhelmed. Prayer also realigns focus. Instead of being consumed by what is lacking, the mind begins to recognize what is present. Gratitude emerges naturally, shifting attention from scarcity to provision. This change in focus improves emotional health and deepens contentment. The mind becomes less reactive and more reflective, responding to situations with patience and understanding. As prayer becomes a consistent practice, it shapes character. The mind grows disciplined, the heart grows sensitive, and peace becomes familiar rather than rare. Challenges no longer feel isolating, and setbacks do not carry the same weight. Through prayer, the mind and heart are restored to a place of balance, clarity, and calm, creating a foundation strong enough to support growth, faith, and lasting transformation. The thoughts we hold shape the life we live. When the mind is consumed with negativity, fear, or doubt, it acts like a filter, distorting opportunities and blessings before they even have a chance to reach us. Conversely, when the mind is filled with faith, hope, and expectation, it becomes a lens through which possibilities are magnified and doors are recognized that might otherwise remain unseen. The simple truth is that receiving blessings begins in the mind. What we think influences how we perceive, respond, and ultimately accept the good that is coming our way. Changing the way we think does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that challenges do not exist. It means refusing to allow difficulties to dictate identity, limit potential, or define the outcome of our efforts. When negative thoughts are replaced with truth and faith, the mind starts to work in alignment with purpose rather than against it. The heart becomes open to guidance, insight, and inspiration that were previously blocked by doubt or fear. As thinking shifts, the energy and focus required to recognize opportunities become available, making it easier to step into the blessings that were always within reach. Receiving blessings also requires expectation. The mind must be trained to anticipate good, to believe that favor is not only possible but deserved. Expectation opens doors for action. When the mind expects provision, solutions, or favor, it begins to notice the resources, relationships, and moments that can lead to breakthrough. Without this mindset, opportunities may appear but go unrecognized, passing by unnoticed, because the heart was not prepared to receive them. Faith in what is possible primes the soul to respond with readiness rather than hesitation. transformation of thinking also influences speech and behavior. Words spoken out of faith reinforce belief, while words rooted in negativity reinforce doubt. As thoughts are renewed, language shifts to reflect confidence, gratitude, and hope. Actions follow words. A person who thinks differently begins to act differently. They make choices that align with their renewed expectations and open themselves to experiences they might have previously avoided. In this way, a change in thinking creates a ripple effect that touches every part of life. Furthermore, receiving blessings requires a willingness to release resistance. Resistance often comes in the form of stubborn attachment to old habits, self-doubt, or fear of failure. When thinking changes, the mind becomes more flexible, more willing to let go of what no longer serves growth. This openness creates space for new possibilities, allowing blessings to flow freely rather than being blocked by hesitation or skepticism. The heart becomes receptive, the spirit becomes expectant, and the soul aligns with the abundance that is already present. Ultimately, the mind and heart are gateways. What enters through these gates depends on what they are prepared to receive. By choosing faith over fear, expectation over doubt, and truth over negativity, the way is cleared for blessings to arrive. As thinking transforms, life transforms, opportunities are embraced, provision is recognized, and favor is experienced in ways that were previously unimaginable. The alignment of thought and faith sets the stage for a life where receiving blessings is not random, but the natural outcome of a mind and heart attuned to what is good, possible, and promised.